Vitaly Zdorovetskiy, known to the internet as VitalyzdTv, didn't just stumble into fame. He charged into it like a shirtless lunatic with a death wish. In the early 2010s, YouTube was still the Wild West, and Vitaly wasn't just a cowboy. He was the guy lighting dynamite and throwing it into the saloon for clout. Armed with nothing but fake blood, bad ideas, and a complete lack of shame, Vitaly exploded into virality in 2012 with the now notorious Miami zombie attack prank. The setup? Dress like a blood-soaked ghoul, chase terrified strangers through Miami, and milk their panic for millions of views. The result? Internet stardom and a near-death encounter when one guy nearly shot him on the spot. And what did Vitaly do? He bragged about it, like getting a gun pulled on you for being an idiot was some kind of prankster badge of honor. That video alone turned heads, for both the wrong and the very wrong reasons. While some hailed it as fearless content, others pointed out the uncomfortable truth. The prank featured a white guy violently chasing mostly black men through the streets, echoing centuries of racial trauma. But did that slow him down? Nope. It only fueled the monster. Vitaly wasn't interested in clever comedy or social commentary. His entire brand was built on terrorizing random people for clicks, hiding behind the classic cop-out. It's just a prank, bro. By 2014, his antics had paid off. He hit 1 million subscribers, was raking in millions of views, and started believing his own hype. He saw himself as untouchable, the god of prank culture. And like all internet gods drunk on ego, he reached too far. Then came the next step: Hollywood. In 2016, Vitaly graduated to the big screen with Natural-Born Pranksters, a film so packed with juvenile gags and testosterone-fueled nonsense, it made Jackass look like Oscar bait. Critics trashed it, audiences rolled their eyes, and Vitaly's charm started to wear thinner than his excuses. He wasn't evolving, he was doubling down. What started as pranks turned into chaos tourism. Harass, humiliate, shock, repeat. Every video felt like a desperate attempt to outdo the last, but with fewer laughs and more uncomfortable silence. Vitaly didn't just rise, he ignited. But what nobody realized was that the flame he was playing with, it was already burning out of control. As Vitaly's subscriber count ballooned, so did his ego and the size of his stunts. Fame didn't just go to his head, it consumed him like a full-blown addiction. The man wasn't chasing laughs anymore. He was chasing headlines, handcuffs, and hashtags. Let's rewind to July 2014, when Vitaly decided that one of the most watched events on Earth, the FIFA World Cup final, should be his stage. Shirtless, with Natural-Born Prankster slapped across his chest like a human billboard, he stormed the pitch mid-game and even lunged at German player Benedikt Hövedes for a kiss. Security tackled him. Brazilian police booked him. The punishment? A night in a cell and a $100 slap on the wrist. Vitaly's reaction? Pure celebration. His Twitter blew up with 80,000 new followers within minutes, because in his mind, the formula was simple. Arrest plus viral clip equals instant clout. That moment taught him a dangerous lesson. The law was just another stage prop. From that point on, Vitaly wasn't just a prankster, he was a full-time chaos gremlin. By 2016, he had moved on to scaling the iconic Hollywood sign, dangling off the giant D like it was a jungle gym. Police, again, had to drag him off. But Vitaly wasn't done. Oh no. Not even 2 weeks later, he charged shirtless onto the court during Game 4 of the NBA Finals, this time with "Trump sucks" scribbled across his torso. You could almost hear the crowd's confusion clash with the sound of him getting body slammed off the hardwood. He had officially turned trespassing into a brand. Between 2017 and 2022, Vitaly treated global sports events like his personal playground. He stormed the World Series, multiple NBA games, and yes, he even returned to the World Cup in Qatar 2022, despite boasting that he was banned from every stadium in the world. Did that stop him? Of course not. He snuck in, half naked as usual, with Vitaly the Goat painted across his chest, sprinted across the field like it was a catwalk, and was promptly tackled like a rag doll and dragged out by all fours. At this point, it wasn't content. It was a public disturbance speed run. Every arrest became a trophy. Every stadium tackled him like they were in on the joke. And Vitaly, he wore it all like a badge of honor, as if most arrested YouTuber was some twisted Guinness World Record. But here's the thing. While Vitaly was busy turning his rap sheet into a resume, something quietly shifted. The fans who once laughed started to cringe. The media attention that once fueled his rise now branded him a menace, not a maverick. His shock factor had expired. The legendary prankster was mutating into that guy who won't stop until someone actually gets hurt. The vibe went from LOL he's wild to bro, someone stop him. What he didn't seem to notice or didn't care about was that every new stunt wasn't building legacy anymore. It was building a cautionary tale, a tale of clout chasing gone nuclear, of a man who mistook infamy for influence, of a prankster who thought handcuffs meant he was winning. By 2017, Vitaly wasn't just known for pranks. He was known for always getting arrested, always crossing the line, always being just a little too desperate for attention. And the world was starting to look away. Vitaly once wore the crown of YouTube's wildest prankster, but behind the viral fame was a crumbling foundation built on bad decisions and broken boundaries. His early chaos might have looked like renegade genius to his teenage fans, but to everyone else, it was the beginning of a train wreck in slow motion. Before he ever stormed stadiums or shouted "subscribe" in handcuffs, Vitaly got his first taste of legal reality back in March 2012, arrested in Florida for impersonating a police officer. Yep, before he was pretending to be a YouTube celebrity, he was pretending to be a cop. The charges were dropped, but the foreshadowing? Brutally clear. Then came June 2012, the infamous Russian hitman prank. In a move that redefined idiocy, Vitaly pretended to threaten a stranger with a bomb in a briefcase in a public place. This wasn't a clever skit or edgy comedy. This was felony-level nonsense. Unsurprisingly, the victim tackled him. 911 was called, and Vitaly and his accomplice were arrested on bomb hoax charges. Somehow, they dodged serious consequences due to a legal technicality. But instead of apologizing or reflecting, Vitaly basically shrugged and said, "I'm just sad the guy got that upset." That response? Peak delusion. This moment said it all. To Vitaly, other people's fear was just content. Laws were speed bumps. Human decency? Optional. As time passed, so did the tolerance for his brand of chaos. By 2018, the cracks in his image were undeniable. The pranks that once went viral were now being exposed as staged, formulaic, and flat-out desperate. His genre, once YouTube gold, was drying up. But instead of evolving, Vitaly doubled down on shock value with a paywalled site. Vitaly Uncensored, basically a dumpster fire of nudity, sleaze, and try-hard pranks masquerading as entertainment. What he called uncensored, the world saw as unhinged. But he didn't stop there. No, not when Clout was on the line. He even dragged his own mother into the madness. At the 2019 Cricket World Cup, she tried to streak onto the field in some bizarre tribute to her son's pitch invasion legacy. It ended exactly how you'd expect. security interception, and another family arrest in the books. Because nothing says legacy like your mom trying to go viral half naked. At this point, the prank king wasn't edgy. He was just exhausting. The boyish bravado had curdled into full-blown desperation. Each stunt screamed, "Please notice me," louder than the last. The world wasn't laughing anymore. They were sighing, cringing, and asking, "Dude, are you okay?" The thrill was gone. The audience was over it. And as the arrests piled up, so did the realization. This wasn't the rise of a rebel. This was the fall of a clown. And then, the mask completely slipped. April 12th, 2020. The day Vitaly Zdorovetskiy stopped being a reckless prankster and became something far worse. For years, he'd flirted with danger, doused his content in controversy, and paraded through life like consequences were optional. But this time, this wasn't a stunt. This wasn't a joke. This was pure, unfiltered violence. In a horrifying incident that blindsided even his most loyal fans, 28-year-old Vitaly viciously attacked a female jogger in Miami Beach, a total stranger. According to police reports, he lunged at her out of nowhere, tackled her to the ground, and unleashed a brutal barrage of punches to her face and chest. She screamed for help. Blood streamed from a deep gash over her eye. The injuries were so severe they required stitches. She had no idea who this man was, just that she was being assaulted by someone with the crazed look of a man who had lost all grip on reality. There was no camera, no crew, no punchline, just pain. And while bystanders rushed to help and called the police, Vitaly ran off, retreating into a nearby home that turned out to be his. Officers later arrested him and charged him with felony aggravated battery. This wasn't a prank gone wrong. This was humanity gone wrong. When news broke, the internet exploded. This wasn't the YouTuber people subscribed to for laughs. This was someone who looked like he'd spiraled past parody and straight into menace. His mugshot, dazed, disheveled, and dead-eyed, made the rounds online like wildfire, becoming a symbol of just how far he had fallen. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were disgusted. The same people who once praised his over-the-top antics were now erasing him from their feeds like a virus. And it got worse. Photos of the bloodied victim surfaced online, triggering a civil lawsuit and igniting a firestorm of backlash. Suddenly, all those earlier pranks started to feel darker, meaner, more dangerous. Was this guy always just one step away from chaos? In the middle of this nuclear fallout, Vitaly did what every disgraced influencer does: disappeared. But when he re-emerged, it wasn't with accountability, it was with excuses. On a podcast, he tearfully claimed he was high on psychedelic mushrooms during the assault, as if that somehow justified it. Let's be honest, "I was high" isn't a confession. It's a neon sign flashing, "I lost control." He posted bail, $7,500. But his reputation? That bill couldn't be paid. This was no longer a prank channel. This was a walking cautionary tale. Vitaly had built his empire on shock value and adrenaline. This was the moment he crossed into the void. And the internet, ever quick to cancel, didn't just shut the door behind him, it slammed it, locked it, threw away the key. From prank king to public disgrace, Vitaly's descent wasn't just a fall, it was a crash. Loud, brutal, and ultimately unforgivable. After the Miami assault shattered what little credibility Vitaly had left, his online empire began to collapse, like a sandcastle hit by a tsunami of consequences. YouTube shadow banned him into irrelevance. His once loyal collaborators ghosted him, and sponsors? Not even Raid Shadow legends wanted to touch the radioactive mess he'd become. But Vitaly, ever addicted to the dopamine drip of digital attention, couldn't just disappear quietly. No, he chose the loudest, most unhinged route imaginable. By 2021, he ditched YouTube entirely and crawled over to Kick, a streaming platform known more for chaos than content, hoping the Wild West environment would let him reinvent himself. Spoiler, it didn't. Instead of growth or redemption, Vitaly chose a delusional new identity: self-proclaimed vigilante predator hunter. Think To Catch a Predator if it were run by an unmedicated ego with a camera and zero understanding of law enforcement. In 2023 to 2024, he began live streaming sting ops with fellow walking controversies like Sneeko. These weren't investigations, they were performances of humiliation. One especially grotesque stream saw Vitaly ambushing a man they accused of predatory behavior. But instead of contacting the police like any sane person would, Vitaly shaved the guy's head and eyebrows. Then, brace yourself, forced him to eat his own pubic hair on camera as the price of freedom. Let that sink in. Vitaly's idea of justice was basically medieval torture, streamed for views. Police? They weren't impressed. The Miami PD publicly condemned his antics as reckless and dangerous, warning that confronting potentially violent people with a camera crew and no plan was a great way to get someone killed. But Vitaly wasn't done embarrassing himself. In another brain-dead stunt, he dragged rapper YG into one of his fake busts, which fans immediately called out as staged. He then claimed he paid Quavo $300,000 to join the vigilante squad. But when Quavo didn't show, Vitaly launched into a wildly offensive rant, blaming the no-show on it being a black people thing. Yes, he actually said that. The backlash, immediate, deserved, brutal. Whatever threadbare reputation he had left, obliterated. And then came the lawsuits. By late 2024, one of his vigilante targets, a Hollywood screenwriter his crew had falsely accused and roughed up, took him to court for defamation and harassment. Vitaly had officially gone from prankster to public menace. At this point, it became impossible to ignore. Vitaly hadn't changed. He hadn't grown. He'd only mutated into a louder, dumber version of the same self-obsessed provocateur that got famous for terrorizing strangers in the street. Instead of a redemption arc, we got a slow-motion meltdown. A man so desperate for relevance that he traded dignity for delusion and turned justice into a circus just to get back on camera. He wasn't reinventing himself, he was imploding in real time, and the internet watched with a mix of horror, pity, and secondhand embarrassment. Vitaly Zdorovetskiy, once the self-proclaimed king of pranks, finally met a fate that even he couldn't laugh off. And fittingly, it happened not on his home turf, but thousands of miles away in the Philippines. By 2025, Vitaly wasn't a creator anymore. He was a walking PR disaster, a public menace with a selfie stick. And in March, he flew into Manila with one goal: cause chaos for content. But what he thought would be just another round of attention-seeking pranks quickly turned into an international meltdown that would bury the last remnants of his career. Armed with nothing but a live stream and an ego bigger than the plane he flew in on, Vitaly unleashed a spree of harassment through the streets of Metro Manila. And no, we're not talking about silly jokes or hidden camera gags. This was straight-up sociopathic behavior, dressed in the guise of content creation. He leapt onto moving jeepneys like a GTA character having a breakdown, snatched a security guard's hat like it was a playground game, and paraded a stolen electric fan through a hotel lobby as if he'd just conquered the Philippines. At one point, he even pretended to rob an elderly woman, sparking panic among locals and reducing a real-life moment to his usual low-effort livestream bait. Vitaly's greatest hits during this trip also included breaking into a McDonald's kitchen mocking a Filipino surfing instructor in Boracay with racist undertones, and directing his stream viewers to review-bomb the man's business, all while treating the country like his personal lawless playground. This wasn't edgy content. This was public harassment on foreign soil. But unlike the slap-on-the-wrist treatments he got in the US, Vitaly finally messed with the wrong country. On April 3rd, 2025, Vitaly got the plot twist he never wanted. Philippine police and immigration authorities stormed his hotel in Pasay City and arrested him on the spot. No more clickbait, no more escape. Just handcuffs, legal paperwork, and a one-way ticket to a detention cell in Taguig. The government wasn't subtle either. Interior Secretary Ben-Hur Abalos went full savage in a press statement. The time when foreigners could just disrespect Filipinos is over. Let that sink in. Vitaly wasn't deported. He was detained, slapped with a buffet of charges: unjust vexation, alarm and scandal, and attempted theft, and declared an undesirable foreign national. His online circus had finally run out of gas. Even Kik, the last refuge for exiled content clowns, suspended his channel. When Kik says you went too far, you really know you've hit rock bottom. Filipino netizens erupted with #DeportVitaly, but many didn't want him deported. They wanted him tried and jailed right there in Manila, and for once, public sentiment and legal process were on the same page. Authorities even launched a manhunt for his local cameraman, promising that anyone who assisted in the street-level humiliation of locals would face justice too. It wasn't just a takedown, it was a cleanup mission. And now, Vitaly sits behind bars. No audience, no camera, no clout. Just a cold cell, a courtroom ahead, and a reputation so scorched it can't be salvaged. His trial may drag on for 2 to 3 years, meaning the man who once ran shirtless across World Cup fields for fame might be locked up until 2027, if not longer. For someone who fed off internet attention like oxygen, this is a fate worse than cancellation. It's exile, it's poetic justice, it's the final, humiliating chapter in the story of a man who mistook narcissism for entertainment and cruelty for content. And now, he's not the king of pranks. He's just a cautionary tale with no punchline. Vitaly didn't just fall off. He crashed, burned, and buried his own legacy under a mountain of bad decisions and ego-fueled disasters. What started as goofy public prank videos slowly mutated into a twisted carnival of harassment, violence, and total delusion. He wasn't canceled. He canceled himself in spectacular fashion. Vitaly was never content with just being funny. He wanted to be infamous. He craved virality like a drug, each stunt louder, dumber, and more reckless than the last. The Russian bad boy act that once made him millions became a sad self-parody, a man chasing relevance while his dignity ran in the opposite direction. His career didn't get sabotaged by haters or cancel culture. Vitaly was his own worst enemy, filming the receipts and live streaming the downfall. From fake bomb pranks and stadium invasions to unprovoked assaults and international embarrassment, he turned controversy into currency until the currency dried up and all that remained was a mugshot and a meme. YouTube once celebrated him. Now it quietly buries his videos, while commentary channels pick apart the wreckage with titles like Vitaly, The Rise and Disgrace, or How Not to Be a YouTuber 101. He went from trendsetter to cautionary tale, from prankster to pariah. Today, Vitaly isn't breaking into stadiums or fast food kitchens. He's likely just waiting for roll call in a jail cell thousands of miles away from the audience he used to entertain. And the internet, once his playground, is now his roast pit. Laughing not with him, but at him. The punchline, the one person Vitaly couldn't prank, was reality.